questions that are being asked, I'd like to mostly address, so this is my preference, is questions that affect how you walk. Questions about living this out. What he's always told me is, tell them that if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, they'll be where they're supposed to be. But you need a teacher to teach you what it is you need to be doing.
I actually have a scriptural question for you.
We only take scriptural questions on Tuesdays between 11 and 11:15.
That's a short counseling session for me.
I didn't say it was counseling session, I said questions. All right, go ahead.
Titus chapter 3, verse 10. I don't read often. My kids, the scriptures.
That's about quarreling and fighting and arguing. I know, we quote that all the time. What's the question?
Number 10, the first and second warning, I was trying to find in the whole book of Titus and maybe I'm just stupid, which I probably am, but I can't find the first and second warning. What exactly is he meaning?
Okay, so first of all, it's 3:9 that starts us off, right? So it says, keep away from foolish questions, genealogies, and strife and quarrels about the Torah, for they're unprofitable and useless. There's your context. So when it says reject the divisive man is trying to do verse 9. He's trying to create an argument and fights over the Torah, genealogies, and those kind of things. He says, reject that person. In other words, say, I don't want to do this. Let's not do this. Okay? Now he says, a divisive man after the first and second warning. Give them a warning. Give them a second warning. If they don't want to take that, say, look, this conversation's over. I asked you not to do it. I asked you not to do it, and you're still doing it. Okay?
Okay, I did not know. I didn't realize it was about verse 9. Thank you.
Yes, well, it follows verse 9 into verse 10. That's kind of the way it works.
I just didn't find how it connected, but I appreciate that.
Okay.
And then the other
because
thing,
it's trying to tell you this is happening, and when it happens, you are to give them a warning and say, let's not do this. Give them a second warning. Let's not do this. If that doesn't work, you need to reject that person. That would be a congregational thing, because remember, Titus is being trained as a congregational leader. He says, look, that person in the congregation, if they don't take the warnings, you need to say, look, you're going to need to go somewhere else. Okay? If you're going to keep coming in here causing strife among the brothers, fighting about Torah and genealogies, that's not acceptable here. You'll need to go somewhere else. Okay? Elder can tell you we get about once a week somebody that wants to do that in an email or a phone call, and we're just like, we're not doing that. Okay? You go find somebody else that wants to play that game. I don't want to play. All right? Take your ball, go home. I'm not playing.
So I have quite a few, but I'll start with 2 and then go to the back of the line if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so both of them take place in 1 Chronicles. And my first question is about 1 Chronicles 4, verses 9 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the prayer of Jabez. So I know that Christianity teaches it a certain way, and I was looking for clarification, that's all. Because the Hebrew is very different from what it says in the King James, or from what the scriptures interpretation says. Is very different from what they teach in Christianity.
Okay, so I have given this over the years.
Oh.
0 attention.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay? I know it was this huge thing, the prayer of Jabez, whatever. It's her prayer.
Okay.
Okay? And guess who it's for?
Her. Okay.
Nothing to do with us. But it comes out of this name it, claim it, anything anybody said you can claim is for you.
Yeah.
Christian sort of mindset.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Next.
Okay.
Chapter 6, verses 33 and 38. And it talks about the sons of Korach and how they're singers in the temple.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that, and I made a connection of how King Shaul did not kill all the Amalekites, and so then Queen Esther had to deal with it, and she eradicated some. So, Korah sinned, but his descendants had a place in the temple again. So it's like generational, like fixing generational...
Well, no, you got to remember that, and I talked about it when the Torah portion covered it, okay? I mean, it says in the Torah portion that Korach's sons were not killed with the rest of them. Remember, the whole Korach thing had to do with, again, you choose to stand by that camp or not, okay? And so they obviously made their own choice.
Okay.
So it's not a generational fixing of things. They made their choice right when it happened. So it makes it clear that they were not killed when Korach and the others were killed in that rebellion.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Okay, before I get to my question, I'm going to make a funny that may make all the blues mad at me. But so you throwing that thing, which, by the way, can I pick it up yet?
No.
Okay.
And the reason I said no is because I've been tempted to ask Ben to pick it up, and if I'm going to be bothered by it, I'm going to let everybody else be bothered by it. So it stays.
When you're ready for it to get picked up, can I pick it up?
Until Rebbetzin shows up, and she's going to look at it like, okay.
Okay, so then the funny part that we make fun of the blues of, does that make us all dogs? Like, oh, we just want to play fetch, and we're waiting to be told to go pick it up?
No.
I think there's a profoundness under that funny.
No, you guys want the world to be properly in order and clean and organized the way you see it, according to you.
But like a dog.
Because, by the way, I can get a bunch of you blues together, you will not agree on everything. You'll have your own unique, perspective on stuff, okay?
But like a dog, we have impulses to just go chase, to just fit, just to go get. We're trained ourselves to do something, and it overrides whatever we're doing. We're just going to go and fetch the thing. That's not where it's supposed to be.
You are, okay, every color, I suppose, has its squirrels or shiny objects. You know what I'm talking about? Squirrel, shiny object, okay? And each color has things that will tempt you in terms of grabbing your attention, okay? Anything not right in the world will grab the blues' attention. Anything that's out of sync, out of order, out of balance, out of something will have you out of sorts, and you'll need to figure out how to fix it. Whereas, a yellow may chase something that looks fun, or something, oh, that looks fun, oh, that looks fun, oh, that looks fun, or whatever it is. Each color has its sort of thing that kind of will distract them, okay? So that's more the perspective I would use.
And the NE has questions it wants answered, and the different Myers-Briggs functions all have their own too. Correct?
They do, but that wouldn't really have to do with that. Okay.
Seems similar. Anyway, so question or confirm.
Although that would be more of a J problem, but yeah.
So this is more of a make sure I connected this correctly question. And I don't know why it was so absolutely profound, but like I've worked in a lot of places and I've been the entry-level person. And then I got trained for management and put in the management position. And the things that seemed completely stupid and just completely like, why are we doing this? This makes no sense. Suddenly made crystal clear sense and was absolutely necessary when I was in management position. Like all the time, I'm dealing with people that are like, this is stupid. I'm like, no, it's absolutely necessary. From my perspective, like when you see the big picture, it's absolutely necessary. But that's what we do. We're those entry-level employees. We're constantly trying to figure out why the Father did something, what he's going to do, what decision he's going to make, why this, why that. And we're not at a level where we could understand, which is like what you say, above my pay grade, not mine to be, we're not going to be able to see with his eyes because his ways,
right.
Just that scripture, his ways are above my ways.
I was just going to quote that. Perfect. Okay? Because the thing is, he sees a bigger picture than you can see from where you're at. Also, he has not yet, in some of those areas, explained. So sometimes, if I'm the supervisor and you're on the line at the factory and I say, look, we need to do this, and I haven't explained to you why we need to do this, because I don't have time to bother with that, and you don't need to know, you just need to do it, you may say, this is dumb. Because you can't, in the limited understanding you have, understand why this is important, okay? But you also have to be able to trust that just because I don't see it doesn't mean that it's not important.
And I think that was the beauty of it. It's like, we spent so much time looking at the scripture going, I have to put this in a box. I have to figure this out. I have to know where this is. I have to know why. I have to understand the big picture. And even when I explain things to people of why, they still don't understand because they don't have the perspective. They don't see with the right eyes. And that's how it's going to be with us. There's going to be things in the scripture I can't put in a box.
Which is why you shouldn't have to explain yourself. No, I shouldn't say that. There are times when you should, obviously, okay? But there's times when you shouldn't have to explain yourself. Just because of my position and your position in the factory or wherever it is that we have a relationship, I should be able to tell you we're doing this or we're not doing that or we're doing it this way, and I shouldn't have to argue with you and explain to you to convince you that this is what needs to be done. The fact that you can't see or understand it is not really relevant, which is why I think the Father gave us this beautiful picture of Exodus 19 where he said, I want you to agree to do a whole bunch of stuff I haven't even said yet. I haven't explained, I haven't given you details, I haven't listed it out. You got to agree, blank check, in advance, up front. Because a lot of people will convince themselves they feel better about kashrut because science has proven that pork is a problem or that shellfish is a problem. It shouldn't matter that you don't understand why these things are a problem. It shouldn't matter that you don't have some sort of, empirical evidence or something that you can point to, okay? What matters is that you trust the source, okay? And you also have a relationship that says, I own you for this hour, I'm your supervisor, you do it this way because that's what I said and that's all that matters. And you need to figure out how to do exactly what I said and please me because I own you for this hour, okay? Whether you understand or not is not relevant. And by the way, if I'm wrong, my boss will catch it and he'll get, it'll go from some other place. It doesn't have to start, you're at the bottom, okay? You're at the bottom. But I think it is beautiful for you, okay, that in your experience now as a supervisor, you now understand that all those things your supervisor used to say that didn't make any sense. You go, oh my gosh, it makes perfect sense. But now I'm in a different place, looking from a different angle, dealing with a different set of parameters than the one on the line just working on that piece of the microwave.
My question is based off going back to when Melissa was up here when you mentioned, we don't know why Abba allows, babies to not make it or et cetera. It actually reminded me of something and kind of a interesting question. I don't know why out of all things popped into my mind, but it did. It's kind of showing a little bit more my blue side. And I'll give just a quick backstory to give context to this. So before my mom met my dad, she married when she was very young and they had a baby, but he didn't make it. He had complications with his lungs or something, so he was only 24 hours when he was born. And, hearing that as a little girl, I was like, oh, I had a little big brother I'm never going to meet. And it's like,
yeah.
And I remember, like as a little kid, I always liked talking with Abba, even back then when I was a Christian, like he was a friend. And then I always wondered, Abba or God back then, did you allow that so that way my mom would meet my dad so I would be born? Not that I thought it was special, but is that an okay thing to think about?
Sure.
I always wondered about that.
Sure. I mean, it's certainly possible,
Okay. That's really my question. And I just had another question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Can I pretty please take a tissue, make another ball, and stir the pot a little bit?
Go right ahead.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, add to the mess.
Thank you very much.
All right. Let me give you some insight. Okay, let me give you some insight. Okay, you can learn a lot about your personality, your way of handling information, all these other things by the language that you use. Okay? If you say things like, that's not right, or that's not fair, and have an emotion behind it, instead of going, well, that's not right, okay? But you're like, that's not right, that's not fair. You probably have a blue side activated at that moment, because that's something that blues would be concerned about, fairness and being right, okay? On that kind of a level, okay? It's like I talk about auditory versus visual and kinesthetic. If you tend to say things like, oh, I hear you, that sounds good, you're probably auditory, right? If you're more visual, you say, oh, I can see what you're saying, that looks good. We actually use language that matches where we are, okay? Kinesthetics will say, that doesn't feel right. I don't like the way that feels. That makes me uncomfortable, Okay, so that's more of a kinesthetic reaction. We tend to use language. So if you notice things like, okay, in this case, when Shannon was up there, it said something about her blue, and then she said something about justice. Like, that's not just, that's not fair. Like, is it fair? People might think it's not fair. I don't get to maybe have this experience with my older baby brother, so to speak, right? Because he would have been born first. And that thought of fairness, depending on the level of emotion behind it, may actually be a blue-driven thing, okay? We all have a sense about right and wrong, a sense about fairness, but how strongly are we bothered by it? Maybe what color is driving you at that moment, okay, a little bit. Remember, you're all four of them at different times. You have different activities. I know I've talked about that primarily the test only gave me two of them, but I have all four of them. They're just not very active, the other two, because it's not enough to come up on the test. The test only, how many questions? I think it was 45 questions. It's not a lot of questions, okay, to try to figure out all the aspects of your life.
Round 2.
Round 2.
Okay, we're going to go to John.
Okay.
Let's go to
And we're going to try again to do a scripture question.
We'll try to stick there. Let's see. John 9. 30,
That is so funny. I literally opened to John 9.
Bam. 31 to 33.
And the appropriate response was, damn. Okay.
That's when you know he's anointed and appointed.
Or at least funny. Okay, so
Cheeky.
what's your question about 31 to 33?
So we know that Elohim does not hear. Okay, so this selection of questions has to do with interesting things that Yeshua says that I would like to know your perspective on. So we know that Elohim does not hear sinners, but if anyone fears Elohim and does his desire, he hears him. So that's the guy that was born blind and he's talking.
Right.
And then so John 8:29. So if you go back, he who sent me is with me, and the Father has not left me alone, for I always do what pleases him.
Correct.
So there's this theme amongst these particular scriptures that there's an understanding that he doesn't hear sinners. He only listens to those who please him. Is this an accurate statement, or was it just an understanding? Because he says it very blatantly. Yeshua says it very blatantly.
But what do you think he's saying?
Those who are obedient and repentant.
No, what do you think he's saying when he says he doesn't hear sinners?
That he doesn't hear sinners.
No, but in what way? Does he literally not hear anything they say, or?
Is it that you had described that the relationship, there's a distance there when we sin?
So he's saying I don't respond in a positive way to a sinner where I responded to Yeshua because Yeshua does what's pleasing to me. So whereas Yeshua asked to heal the blind or whatever he asked to do, he hears, meaning he responds to your request with the desire that you have. If you're one who, as it says here, who fears and does his desire, he hears that one. Mm-hmm. So hearing here has to do with a request, okay? So if you're a sinner and you're happily running around in your sin, and then you cry out in some way, okay, for something, unless you're going to be repentful and wanting to turn around and crying out to him, you're just asking for something with no intention of changing what you're doing, he doesn't hear that. Hear it meaning like he's not looking to respond to you in any positive way. He hears everything. So it's not like he's deaf to what sinners say. It has to do with responding, okay? All right, you and I are in a house, and I call out and I say, hey, can you get me something to drink? And you don't respond and nothing shows up. And then I go, did you hear me? I'm figuring this out by the lack of response, that somehow you didn't hear me or you just chose not to respond, right? So I think the hearing is sort of like that. He says, I'm not going to respond to what sinners ask for.
So like the desired answer.
Right. I'm not going to respond to the desire of sinners. Now, if the sinner's desire is to get right with me, sure, he's going to respond. That's a different request, okay? But you're in your sin and you're just doing whatever you want. You go, oh man, God, please help me get this job. Well, he's probably not going to get involved in that. He doesn't really care about helping you with your fleshly needs or whatever they are when you're not doing what he says here. You're not fearing him and doing his desire.
So that affects our prayer life,
Put it
correct?
right up in your mouth.
It does affect our prayer life, correct? So is that
It's
is an example
specifically
of,
talking about prayer life here, or
Okay.
making a request,
okay.
all right?
So if we're sinning, if we have a habitual sin,
Okay, because in this case, he made a blind man see.
right?
And they're trying to say, and they're accusing him of being a sinner. They're accusing him of doing all these things that are wrong. And he says, look, if I'm a sinner, he wouldn't have heard me and healed the blind.
Right,
He heard me because I fear him and do his desire.
right.
Okay? So hearing sinners is in that framework. When sinners are asking for stuff, he's like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You're not fearing me, you're not doing my desire. When you're ready to come to me and fear me and do my desire, we can talk.
So the second part, when he says, the Father has not left me alone, in John 8:29, the Father has not left me alone, for I always do what pleases him.
Well, that goes back to the part that you kind of started to go at, which is when we sin, we create a separation.
Okay.
He says the Father is always near me because I'm always doing what's pleasing to him.
Bam.
Okay.
That makes sense.
You start sinning and then he's going to leave you alone until you're ready to come back and fix that. Okay?
So the concept is that we step away, though.
Always.
Versus
Always.
his perspective.
Always. So like when you're in trouble, you can go to like James 4, right? Hold on, let me just go there real quick. And so, so in James 4, in verse 8, okay, it says, draw near to Elohim and he will draw near to you. So, because it's talking about it, the next part of the verse says, cleanse hands sinners. So it's talking to sinners. Okay, you need to make that first motion. Now, it's not talking to people that haven't had their bubble popped. The Father first has to pop your bubble, get your attention. But once your attention has been gotten, so to speak, once he's grabbed your attention, you must draw near to him. We do that by asking, seeking, knocking, etc., right? He says, draw near to him and he'll draw near to you. Remember, James's audience are those in the dispersion. This is not people that don't know what he's talking about.
Right.
Right, James 1 says, to the 12 tribes who are in the dispersion.
Right.
Okay, that's verse 1 of chapter 1. So we know he's writing to. So he's not just writing to the world. He's writing to people that should know what he's talking about. You have been scattered because you have separated yourself because of your behavior. Fix that by drawing near to him and he'll draw near to you. Yeshua says, I've never drawn away, so he's always near me.
But doing what pleases him
By
is
doing
being
what pleases
obedient.
him. Okay.
Being obedient, trusting him,
Yep.
all that stuff.
All that stuff.
Okay. John 9:41.
Yep.
Yeshua said that if you were blind, you would have no sin. When I think of it, when I read that, I'm thinking possibly not bubble popped yet, but you say that we see, therefore your sin remains. What's going on here? So
All right.
is it, yeah, what's
All
going
right,
on?
so I think he's trying to address a level of hypocrisy or a type of hypocrisy that claims, I get it, my bubble's popped, I understand, but I'm not going to change and do anything. I'm not going to accept and make the changes. So he's saying if you were blind, where you really couldn't see, then you would be without sin, okay? Because you don't see and he hasn't popped your bubble. It says, but you're saying that we see. He's saying we, in other words, he's right there and they're refusing to see because they claim they already see.
Right.
He said, well, then you're in a problem. You're rejecting the truth that's in front of you, which is you can see right in front of you because Yeshua is doing all this stuff right in front of them. And so you're in your sin.
So that statement, though, about being blind, if you were blind, you would have no sin. So is that a good example of why we shouldn't push on Christians or our old friends, anything,
No.
unwanted
No.
advice and
No.
stuff because
No, you just need
because they're okay.
But that's not
Is
even
that-
the
is
point.
that
The
a
point
good
is,
point?
the point is, if you push it on them and they now are aware of it, it doesn't mean that they're now in sin if they don't do it. Okay?
It's only when he does it.
right. So,
Okay.
so the thing is, it's just rude to push stuff on them.
Right.
It's obnoxious, it's rude, it's unnecessary, it's not going to bear any fruit. But some of you are thinking, but if I don't share with them and then they don't know and then they're, no, that's between them and him. Always remember, the Father reveals the Son reveals the Father, to whom they choose, when they choose, and it has nothing to do with us. They do it. It's all in the first parts of the Father and Son teaching, okay? The first couple of parts in there, I cover that strongly. Okay, from the verses that say very clearly, they do. None comes unless the Father draws. Yeshua says it very clearly, okay? It doesn't say none comes unless you draw.
That's good.
Okay?
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, not a one of you came here and ended up in this building because I called you up or chased you down or talked to you in a food line somewhere at a supermarket. He drew you. You found a video. You started liking. You looked for more answers. He drew you. I just put information out. Okay? I didn't come to you. He did. Right?
Is it wrong to, being in a social media world, obviously we want to share our perspective, and obviously we're gaining new friends in this new walk that we're in. Is it all right to have postings that are, acknowledging the truth that we're in? Now, obviously, it creates a conundrum when people comment.
No, not that. Hold on. Let's be very red for a second. What is the result you're looking for when you do the post?
Right.
That's the answer to the question, okay? What is it you're hoping will happen when someone sees that post? If you're hoping to inspire them, this, that, and the other thing, to come seek the Father, then don't even make the post. Because that's not how it works, okay? That's not how it works.
So if we're making posts that are commenting on previous Christianity beliefs and we're saying, hey, that's not right.
Again, why are you doing it?
Right.
Why? Again, you guys need to ask more questions before you post anything. And the questions have to be simple. What am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? And the answer has to be in the form of the result you're hoping will happen. What are you trying to make happen? Well, I just want to share whatever. Yeah, no. But you want to share why? Why do you want to share? What are you hoping somebody who sees it, how they're going to react? What is the reaction you're looking for? Okay?
Okay.
Now, I don't mind you posting what you're doing. Like you're coming to Sukkot, you might want to post that. You're doing this, you might want to post that. You're doing that, you might want to post that. Because then somebody in your family who the father starts poking might realize, oh, Olivia is also kind of doing stuff like this. I might want to talk to her. But not because you're trying to get them to be convinced Christianity is wrong and this is right or whatever it is, but because they see you're doing some of the things they're starting to find out about. Like maybe it's okay, not okay, maybe it'd be all right for you to go ahead and put out there that it's something about Shabbat. Because then maybe somebody, that's almost always the first thing people figure out is either kashrut, holy days, or Shabbat. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so maybe somebody you know starts finding Shabbat too, and they go, oh wait, she keeps Shabbat too. That's so exciting. Maybe I need to reach out and talk to her, right? And we can have something in common. But it's not about you trying to fish for that. Just live life, and as part of that life, you may let people, my wife will post pictures when we do any kind of celebrations, and people see that we're celebrating something. Sukkot pictures, Passover pictures, Shavuot pictures, whatever it is, right? But no posts that are trying to convince you to keep or convince you that what you're keeping is wrong. However, somebody might realize and recognize, you keep that. I was just studying that. I'm wondering, let me call you up and find out what's going on with you, because I'm kind of going in that direction, right? That's different than trying to either stir someone to think what they're doing is wrong, they need to change, or to try to motivate them to do something. What you want people to know is that you're doing it, if you're posting it all. I'm not encouraging everybody to go out posting. I'm just saying that would be the only thing, is that you're supposed to be living this out loud so people can be, that's your witness.
Right.
Is that people are aware that you do this stuff.
So that makes you the light. That makes you like
makes you a potential light, right?
Okay.
Okay. Now you're a light, but you can enlighten them from the idea that someone's like, something's just not right in my church and everything else. And man, then all of a sudden I found out about Saturday, not Sunday. And then they realize, do I know anybody that does that? Wait a minute, Olivia does that. Oh, let me call her up. Okay? Because they were aware from something you posted. Or maybe you posted something that they could see that had to do with some other thing that you do. All right. I'm not saying you need to figure out stuff to post that show everything you're doing. I'm just saying those things would be more appropriate. But the Father's going to draw people no matter what. And eventually what he's going to draw them to is the YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's the main place that everybody goes to for everything. And they'll find the teachings. And then if they know you, they'll see you standing here making comments and asking questions. They'll be like, oh my gosh, I know Olivia. She's right there.
Don't be surprised.
Yeah.
I have a history of questions.
All right.
Yes, they do.
So they won't be surprised that you're up here asking questions.
No, they won't be.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But that's why I want you to ask more questions of yourself,
So
like when you
does-
go to make posts. Go ahead.
I've gotten pretty good at filtering myself. And I did do one that I questioned and and it was just a sentence, but I realized how much could be said in just a sentence.
Let me ask you a question. It's important.
Okay.
Do you show your husband before you post?
Did I don't remember if I showed him that one. I usually do, though. If it's wordy, he's like, I don't have the
I'm
brain
just saying,
power.
if you're in the walk and your husband's in the walk,
Yes.
you should have somebody
Yes,
that
I
is a
usually
filter to
make
say,
him-
maybe
him
you
read
shouldn't
it.
post that.
Yes, I usually make
Okay.
him read it. Be like, please read this and make sure
Kind of
this
think
is
about
okay.
like the verses we read in Numbers about vows. If you're going to put something out there in public, you should allow the man in your house to say, nah,
That's
we probably shouldn't do that, okay? And don't be mad if he says that. Let
Yeah.
him say that and then don't post it,
Yeah,
okay?
I have no problem with that.
And if he sees it and tells you take it down, take it down,
Yeah.
all right? All right.
So does giving advice or sharing what you've learned
Again,
in a
why?
general
Why?
perspective.
Why?
Well, let's just
Why?
say it's a
Why?
friend. So it's just a normal friend, and you're just sharing a little bit. You're not even doing it with any intention.
You just happen to be
It's just
excited about
yeah,
something and your
like
friend,
it's just
you're sharing something. That's
Is that
fine.
okay, or is
Of
that
course.
considered teaching?
No, because if you went to a movie you liked, if you went to a restaurant you liked, if you went and did something that you enjoyed, you tell your friend, hey, I just did this thing and it was amazing, right?
Right.
So you got some things you're excited about, sure, you're welcome to share that,
Okay.
okay? But just be careful that you're not turning into either teaching or convincing or judging or criticizing what they're doing, okay?
Because I've definitely used our rabbi, he lets us ask all these questions. And I love this
And
because it's so
And
rare
that's great.
to find.
And that's great. But always remember, you're allowed to be, especially, let me start from the beginning. Depending on your level of relationship, there are different things you can do than with other levels of relationship.
Yeah.
The closer the relationship, the more freedom you have to basically talk about almost anything, okay? Because your relationship allows for that.
Because it's no longer imposing, it's just sharing.
It's what you already have an accepted expectancy from each other in that level of relationship.
But if
okay?
it's not there, then you're possibly trying to teach.
Well-
Does it come under that jurisdiction if you're trying to?
It could be. I'm just saying is if you have a friendship where they're comfortable with you being excited about something spiritual.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a relationship where you've never talked about anything spiritual in your lives together, then it may not fit into that, and you could try and see. But I mean, I'm just saying, be aware that may not be something you guys ever talk about. Then all of a sudden you're talking about it. They may wonder. Because here's the problem for all of you, and you know this. Almost anybody that's not in this walk, if you start bringing up this walk, is going to feel judged. I don't know why. It's not that you actually judge them, but they do. They almost always say, oh, I feel my sister-in-law is mad at me because she feels like I'm judging her. Well, are you? No. Well, they all seem to say that as one of their sort of defensive reactions. So I don't talk about this to anybody that's not in this. I don't. I have lots of friends not in this walk. Well, I don't have lots of friends. People like have casual, I'm not that close with people, you know what I'm saying? I'm just not that close. But I got people that I've known for 30, 40 years that I talk to. I don't talk about this stuff. I have one friend who picks on me who's an atheist who says, he likes to tease me and poke at it. I'm like, it's funny, you're the one who always brings this stuff up and I never do, okay? And so he likes to poke and we have fun. And I set him straight real quick and whatever. But as far as like the dumb things he says, oh, so you believe in a talking snake? I said, well, actually, he wasn't a snake while he was first talking, okay? That was his punishment. But people don't know that about the Nachash, okay? So, we may talk about that a little bit in the Hasatan teaching coming up. But just understand that, I don't look for anything to get anybody's attention.
But it's okay to, I'm saying, Shabbat Shalom to the Mishpachah on a post,
Of
and
course.
it's okay to.
And then somebody may be like, what in the world is that all about? And they may ask you a question, you can answer a question, okay, without going into preaching, but just answer the question,
It is funny how much a lot of my Christian friends don't They just heart it.
That's fine.
And they don't ever question anything. So I'm surprised. I don't know if they actually read it sometimes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Some of you get all upset because certain people don't heart your stuff or don't respond to your stuff. It's like, who cares? I don't read anybody's posts. I don't even have a Facebook account, okay? Somebody hacked mine a couple years ago and I never got a new one. All right, so there you go.
That's true life.
Okay, so you know what? I have not missed not having Facebook. And some of you like wonder how you'd survive. I have not had a Facebook account now since when I went to South Africa and it got hacked. So when was that? Like a year and a half, 2 years ago, whatever it was? Summer ago? Yeah, I don't know, whenever it was.
No.
Okay? So it's been a little while. But it got hacked and I haven't had one since. I probably could try to get the old one back because at this point, whoever hacked it probably could care less. He's already gone and hacked 50,000 other people since mine. Okay, but I don't miss it.
Blame you.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm losing out on anything. And by the way, for those who know me long enough, I never used it anyway. Some of you, I got so many people who used to message me, like in the messenger, Facebook Messenger, and start to get nasty because I didn't reply. I'm like, I never look at it. Like never. Why won't you respond to me? Because I never look at it. What do you want me to do? I'm not like the rest of you guys. I don't look at Facebook Messenger. I don't read emails. I barely respond to a text or a phone call, okay? All right?
I'm trying to think if I should continue. Deidre, I know you have other questions. Do you want to? Are you sure?
Okay.
Like I got pages. I'm just like, we'll keep
Well,
going.
give us one more, and then we're going to go to Tom and then Deirdre, and then we'll see where we're at, okay?
Oh, I didn't even see you.
That's okay. It's because the podium's blocking it.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead. One more, and then we'll go over
Okay,
there.
that sounds good. John, we're going to just stay in John. John 15, 4 through 5.
Right.
A branch that is unable to bear fruit in itself unless it stays on the vine. It reminded me of when you talk about Ephesians 11. And I was wondering if we could treat this as an example to the Ephesians 11 people. So as being under a teacher, being able to be taught, because it's that vertical structure.
You're almost there. Okay, what's it referring to? What it says that the branch is unable to bear fruit unless it stays in the vine. So what's staying in the vine do for the branch?
Feeds it.
Feeds it. Okay, so if you're looking at Ephesians 4:11 from a feeding point of view, provision point of view, nourishing point of view, yes. Not so much a vertical point of view there. I mean, there's other things in John 15 here that are vertical. But I'm just saying is this part is about nourishment. And when you read the rest of Ephesians 4:12, 13, it says that these guys are there to nourish, instruct, guide, equip, right? So that's a reasonable connection.
So that was appropriate.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much. We went through like 6 questions. Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome. Well, I know you don't get to be here all the time and stay this long because of your health issues and everything else, so I wanted to give you as much time as we can.
First of all, thank you for the forum. Rabbi, I always find these really enlightening in a lot of different ways.
Look, you and I go back to a background at a place where all questions had to be submitted and screened and pre-sorted. You couldn't just have an open mic.
And usually never answered.
Right.
So,
danced around and everything else like that. But,
exactly.
You know.
This question goes back to the Parshas, Viera, and Bo, and it's balanced against your teaching sin, a breach of relationship. And I went through past teachings and midrashes and didn't find the specific question, so I wanted to ask it. I want to go back. These two Parshas are about the story of the plagues. And in Exodus 9:28, Pharaoh says to Moshe, pray to Yahweh, for there has been enough of the thunder and hail of Elohim, and I'm letting you go so that you stay no longer. In response, Moshe says that he'll go out of the city and spread his hands, but he knows that Pharaoh and his servants still do not fear Yahweh. Now, to me, that indicates that Pharaoh may not have a relationship with Yahweh. In verse 34, Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunder had ceased, yet he sinned again and hardened his heart, he and his servants. And then in chapter 10, verse 16, Pharaoh believes that he had sinned against Yahweh and Moshe. So my understanding from the teaching of sin is that sin is a broken relationship, either with Yahweh or others, rooted in the expectations of that relationship. So this is kind of a three-part question that leads just to one point, and that's that. Is Pharaoh's sin here only with Moshe from his broken relationship when he promised Moshe to let the children of Israel go and he didn't release them? Or is his sin against Yahweh? If Pharaoh didn't have a relationship with Yahweh, he could have sinned against Yahweh indirectly since Moshe was a representative of Yahweh. Or is Pharaoh correct in that he sinned against both Yahweh and Moshe?
All right, so this is a situation where a worldly person, okay, who's not in covenant, is recognizing that there's an authority, because he already believes in other pagan authorities, he believes in authorities, and that this authority seems to actually have some real power since he's already into the things that are happening here. I mean, this is already well into it, okay? That Moshe and his God seem to be doing. And so Pharaoh, in his panic, okay, doesn't want to let anybody go, but he wants it to stop. And so he says whatever he feels he needs to say to get it to stop. And recognizing, I have done something that offended your God, and you make this stop. What do I, so he's recognizing what I have done is connected to what's happening. However, he doesn't really have an intention of stopping. He figures, I just need to get this to stop, and then my gods or whatever, my power will come back into play in some way, whatever his delusional part was. So his saying that I've sinned against the Almighty or I've sinned against you, Moshe, he was simply saying, look, I have found myself in a place of breach in some way that caused this response. This is that cause and effect type of thing. Does that kind of work?
Yeah, that does.
Okay,
thank you.
So I don't know that he was thinking of sin as we would think about it, but more of the idea that, I did something that clearly was against what you had said and what you claimed your God had said. Okay, so he says, I have sinned against Yahweh, your Elohim, and against you. I've not done what you've said, because not obeying would be sin, okay, because the relationship would be expecting you to obey. I'm just trying to get you to make this thing stop. And then we can go back to the way things were. Okay? And we all know people that are willing to say almost anything, and then things just go back to the way things were. I've got a lot of husbands and wives that have relationships that keep almost ending, and then one of them will, whoever the one is, it's always the one that is in the wrong to whatever degree and says, oh no, it's gonna be okay now, and I'm gonna fix things, but they never do. But they say what needs to be said just to keep it kind of chugging along a little longer, right? And then they go right back as soon as the emergency situation, the calmness comes back into it, and they go right back to the way they were. And then the one who keeps getting the breach happening to them keeps believing them each time and letting it just keep playing out. And then they call us and they don't know what to do. I said, I don't know, you keep letting this keep play out over and over again. You either be okay with it or find another solution that makes it clear that you're not doing this anymore. Okay, which is kind of what happens with Pharaoh. Pharaoh keeps at some point saying, okay, I'm gonna let them go or whatever. And then he goes, no, I'm not gonna let them go because you made it stop and the plague is over and now we're good. And so we're just gonna keep things the way they were. I'm gonna try to lash out at you or whatever, right? So that's kind of where we're at. Good question, Tom.
Okay, so for these last two, I just need to make sure that my brain is connecting all the dots appropriately.
Okay.
So when I was thinking about how Passover, Yahweh called Israel, out of Egypt, but there was a multitude that followed behind them.
Right.
And so I was wondering if in that respect, Passover was a foretelling of what Messiah would do.
Yes, of course.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so then number two.
Because remember, we have in the scripture this idea of the regathering, but also the whomsoever wills, right? That's a phrase Christianity uses a lot too, the whomsoever wills. And in scattering amongst the Gentiles, amongst the nations, to regather means that the message has to go to the nations, and there are going to be others other than Israel that are going to come. Yeshua did say straight out of his own mouth, I've not come except for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. However, they don't all have like a tattoo on their head or something telling you that that's who they are. So even though the effort is to go get the lost sheep, since the lost sheep are scattered amongst everybody else, he says, like sifted like grain through a sieve, amongst the nations. I mean, they're everywhere and mixed in, and who knows? So then the whomsoever wills join in. So that's part of the mixed multitude you see coming out of Egypt as well.
Okay, so number 2, talking about, you said something a couple weeks ago, secrets are for Yahweh, but the revealed is for us.
Yes.
So then what I jumped to was that quote from...
Well, he said it, I just quoted it.
Yes. So then what I jumped to was that line from One Night with the King, it takes the glory of Yahweh to conceal a matter with the honor of kings to seek it out.
Okay.
And then I jumped to, we are created to be a kingdom of kings and priests. And then I jumped to a line from a book, one of the last of the Chronicles of Narnia, where there's a character meeting like the God figure and says to that person, I'll find what they truly seek. And I'm wondering if this is, everything that I concluded, I'm wondering if this is correct. Yahweh reveals to those he sees are really serious about wanting to walk right. He sees that you have the ability to become a king and a priest in his coming kingdom, and so he shares his secrets with you one at a time as you can handle them, and watches you evolve from a maggot to a priestly king or queen.
Yeah, that could probably work.
Okay.
I mean, just understand that, there are things that he doesn't reveal at this point at all to anybody.
Right.
Okay, and there are other things that he has revealed in this book that are not necessarily understood because they still need a facilitator. Remember, I've always explained that this book was always meant to be understood with a facilitator, right? It wasn't meant to be just understood by reading it. Not that you can't understand any of it. You can understand a lot of it just by reading, but it was meant to be facilitated, taught, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's part of the revealing that then happens things, even though he revealed it in the Word, but he needs somebody to help unravel and unlock some of the things that you will be missing, which is why we do these Q&As and you guys ask all these questions, right? Okay? And you guys ask all these questions because the Ruach doesn't answer all your questions. Reading the book didn't answer all your questions. You need an anointed, that's Ephesians 4:11, role people to answer questions. Okay, that's what we do. Okay, so I think that's perfectly fine. So as we grow into eventually this idea of a priesthood a priesthood of kings and priests, that kind of thing, we should be seeking to understand as much as we can. He will only reveal that which you can handle at the moment. Okay? All right?
Okay.
And so it really has to do with, there's a bunch of stuff I haven't revealed that I don't think you guys are ready for yet. Don't take that in an offended way. I'm walking you in a direction as best I can, as fast as I can, And, he's shown me some things or whatever, and don't be asking me what they are. All right? But it's a timing thing, okay? And it's not because I don't think you're bright enough or smart enough or this or that. It's just that when he tells me to reveal it, it's all on him, not on me. And so I'm preparing you for each next thing he kind of gives me to share with you, right? And so, there's a reason why certain teachings were done in the last couple of years as opposed to the first however many couple of years, okay? As he's kind of unpackaged things and pieced them together, all right?
Okay.
Good.
And just one more thing before I stop. Purely because I need to have, therapy for my blue and grow my red. Can I throw one too? Yay!
All right, so the Shamish team is going to be mad at me for letting all you guys make a mess. You're welcome. See, now it actually bothers me less because it's not just mine out there anymore.
I had a question. So we're switching from doing the Deuteronomy readings to doing the level up class during Sukkot.
Which may or not be the case. That's what my intention is at the moment. I think I'd like to see if I can fit that in there. But go ahead.
Yeah. So in the Torah, talks about reading the book of Moshe at Sukkot. At least every 7 years.
Right. It doesn't say specifically every year, and it doesn't say whether that's just Deuteronomy. Okay, but they also were not expecting that we just read it. Remember, they didn't have Bibles like you all do, right? They only had scrolls that would only be read by the priests at their convocations, their gatherings. And so this reading of the law in front of the whole group gathered at Sukkot every 7 years, this was a big deal to hear everything. We will literally have just read the book. So we're not breaking anything by not reading it. Plus, we would be doing it correctly, we'd have to do it on the Shemitah year, which we don't know when that is anyway, okay? So unless this is the 7th year, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like when we do the Torah studies every week and we go through Deuteronomy, that's essentially the same.
We're covering the same thing. The point is, when you read that section in Deuteronomy, the concern was that people are not hearing this read, okay? That they don't get their opportunity to hear the words read on any kind of regular basis. So where is that?
Deuteronomy 31.
31?
Verse
Yeah, I was in
10.
29. Okay, there it is. All right. So Moshe commanded them, saying, at the end of 7 years, at the appointed time, the year of release, the festival of booths, when all Israel comes to appear before Yahweh, your Elohim, in the place which he chooses, read this Torah before all Israel. This Torah being just Deuteronomy, this Torah being all of it from Genesis. I mean, it doesn't say. Reasonable to guess that it's just Deuteronomy, because Deuteronomy is written like a contract. It's kind of the overview of all the other stuff anyway, right? Assemble the people, the men, the women, the little ones, everybody, even the sojourners in your gates, so that they learn to fear, so that they hear and they learn to fear. We literally have done that, okay? We do it every year, and we do it literally right before Sukkot. So is this a command that we're breaking if we don't do that this year? No. Do you know that almost nobody else who does Sukkot does that, by the way, reads Deuteronomy? I don't know of anybody that does that. I've seen a lot of Sukkot presentations out there, whatever, they're not doing Deuteronomy. And I'm not saying they're doing it wrong. But if we were to do this right, it would only be required to do it once every 7 years anyway, okay? And so we'll see what happens this year. As far as it being the Shemitah year, nobody knows. I know there's websites that claim they know. They do their own math and do their own counts, and somehow they don't all agree, okay? But so my feeling is that, again, this is like a Deuteronomy 17 sort of decision, right? It's a judgment based on the current 2025 versus when Moses was saying all of this in Deuteronomy. That we are fulfilling this and more because you actually have one of your own. And you probably also have it on your phone and you have access to it everywhere. That's not the case here, right, when Moses is speaking. People didn't have access. So to make sure everybody could hear that word, they would do it at Sukkot once every 7 years. That seems like not very much. That's not very often. And here we do a Torah cycle, which is not scripturally required, every year. And so we read it every year. And since the Torah cycle, it conveniently kind of fulfills this a little bit, goes from Sukkot to Sukkot, right? Starts right after Sukkot, finishes right before Sukkot. So there is that part of this, right? All right, so did I answer the question?
Yeah. I also was curious, since we've done the Torah cycle many, many times and we have it on recording, have we ever thought of doing other cycles like through the prophets or through the Brit and having that what we discuss?
We have thought of that. The primary focus for doing the Parsha cycle, the Genesis to Deuteronomy, is that it's foundational, and every year we not only have new people, but we have people that have been around that are now hearing the same thing again, but they're hearing it through different ears. So they pick up on things they missed the first time or second time or third or fifth or 10th time. So it's the foundation, and especially for the new people, I think we need to do the foundation. I think it would be great if we were assured that people would go back and do it themselves, okay? I mean, if everybody would listen to the Torah portion cycle, whether I did it in fresh every year, but just go back and listen to the old ones week by week, but you won't, okay, but you won't. And so, I have thought about it many times, doing a different cycle, and who knows, we might try something like that at some point. That concludes Zone 1.